one day, if you lost anything in life, God is the only reason why you didn't lose everything. And so we have to remember we need him to be centered in, and we need to be connected with him and connected with his people. All right, your audience, Kevin Miller, the empowered communicator. Number 3, failure to value someone. The third thing is you fail to value someone. To add value to others, one must value others. You can never add value to someone if you see them less than. You got to be able to look beyond their fault and really see their need. And that's what God did with all of us. He went beyond what we thought was the way that we're supposed to operate. So you got to add value to others, and that's when you begin to notice that they'll begin to connect with you. Here's the third thing, connecting questions. 1, do you care for me? Do you care for me? And I always remember Dr. Maxwell say this over and over again, and you'll probably hear us say it throughout the lesson. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And if you don't care, they don't want to know you. And most of us make the mistake that we think because we have a position or we have a certain status in the community, or maybe because we're the head of the family. And some family members, they're off on an ego trip because they're the parent or whatever, or the oldest sibling. They start carrying on like, no, you're supposed to show people how much you care. Do you care for me? Number 2, can you help me? Can you help me? Because where I'm going at, I need some help. And I often did that. Growing up in ministry, I didn't have, number 2, I didn't have someone that understood what I was trying to do. I don't know if that's the same. Okay. Can you help me? Okay. Can you help me? Thank you. And I would often go to different conferences, and I would meet the leaders, and I would ask them, hey, I need some help with something. And I always remember that I told a guy one day when I was at this particular conference, I says, I need to know how to raise money to build or purchase a church. I didn't know how to do it. I'm new at this game. God didn't call me into something. But I knew God was smart enough to know that I was dumb enough that I go ask somebody smart enough. So I went inside asking people questions. You would be amazed how many friends I've made in top position like Dr. Maxwell. How often this guy would have me to come in and train and teach and educate me because why? I asked some questions. And his team was instrumental in us purchasing 9 acres of land. As a result of it, learned how to work and pay it off because I followed some principles that he taught us in our church, and that thing turned our whole ministry around. Here's number 3, connecting question. Can I trust you? Can people trust you? I remember I was a part of a church that had recently moved out, and they had a building fund going on. They had raised so many hundreds of thousands of US dollars, and all of a sudden the money came up missing. And out of the deacons that were there, one of them, or maybe several of them, got together and decided to run a heist on the church. And I said, how? How could you have enough nerve to rob God? And he already asked the question, would a man rob God? I guess they told him, yeah, we did it. But guess what? They didn't fare out too well. Because I don't know which one it was, but I know the team of them, and they all started looking real bad when things started happening to them. I said, somewhere, one of them in that crowd, if not several of them, decided to rob the church. Didn't turn out good. But you don't want to avoid your trust when it comes to people. Because once you lose that, the Bible says you'll be better off winning the whole city than trying to win a brother or sister back that's been offended. So, hey, go and win Nairobi. Once you offend somebody, you stand a chance of winning this whole city than to get that brother back or that sister. So keep that trust in place. The key concepts, connecting begins when the other person feels valued. When that person walked in the church, they want to feel like they're at home for real. And if they don't know they're at home, they should feel valued enough that you showed them enough love that they will come back. Now, we had a thing once. I sat down with our leaders in the church, And we call it our secret sauce. You know how you make a secret sauce at home and you put it on certain things and people say, hey, what is that? It's my secret sauce. So we asked our team, what would be our secret sauce when people come in this church? And I wanted my leaders to share with me what they thought was the secret sauce. And they came up with this very unique sauce that they said, one thing that we've heard over and over again from people that walk in this building is that they felt loved and that they were at home. That's major, because I thought maybe they was going to say they came in, they heard the preacher preach a great sermon. They blew my ego away because they didn't say that. They said they felt loved. They felt connected. And I thought, oh, okay. So much for my sermon. Let me just love on the people when they walk in the door, okay? So that was the thing that our church had developed themselves in doing, greeting people and loving on them. It wasn't no fake love, because I watched a lot of them. They would actually come with, I used to watch my mother. She was one of the ushers, and I watched different ones. They'd come and say, come, I got the favorite place for you to sit. Now, every chair was favorite in the church, but that new person didn't know that. They said, it's the best seat. Now, if you need anything, just turn and look at me, and I'm going to come to you. They had this thing down to a science, and people were coming in that front door, and they was loving it. So connection began when the other person feels valued. Question, what can I do to increase my value of others? What can I do to increase my value of others? So you need to look inside and realize there's some things I can do to make a connection. And if not, then I may create a real problem. Let's go to section number 3. Everyone communicate, but few connect. Trying to stay on course with us so that we can cover some of these bases. So we're going to go to number 3, section 3. Thank you. Connecting goes beyond words. When many people try to communicate with others, they believe the message is all about that matters. The message is all that matters. But the reality is that communication goes way beyond words. In an important study, UCLA psychological professor Empress Albert Menhenbring discovered that face-to-face communication can be broken down into 3 components: words, tone, and voice, and body language. What may come as a surprise is that in some situation, what people see us do and the tone we use can far outweigh any words we say while trying to communicate. In situations where feelings and attitude are being communicated. All right, so the first one is, what we say account for only 7% of what we believe. What we say accounts for only 7% of what we believe. So when you're talking, out of 100% now, 7% of what you're saying is what is being counted for in that conversation. Number 2, the way we say it accounts for 38%. The way we say it. Now, for instance, in the morning time, if I say to you, good morning, how are you? Chances are you're going to look at me and say, oh, he's all hyped up and he's percolating, he's all ready to go. Or if I walk in and say, good morning, what would you think? Something wrong with this dude. He drugged through the door, like, good morning. So notice this. The way we say it account for 38% of what we're trying to communicate over to the person. Now, and some people say that because they don't want you to bother them too, because they want to kind of push you off. That's not how you value people. Just go ahead and tell them, all right, I'm busy right now. I can get back with you in a few minutes versus good morning. Like, don't bother me. Now, what others see accounts for 55%. Actions speak louder than words. So what they see is going to count for a lot. So you want to make sure what you're doing is going to be the right thing and going to be a blessing. You don't want to be saying something that's going to create a problem when people walk out the door and you downstairs and you talking to someone, you saying something all crazy, and they thought, man, I thought that was brother so-and-so, sister so-and-so. I thought they were. in charge of this. Why are they talking like that? What's their actions? Why are they doing that? So watch what you do, watch what you say and how you say it, and be a person accountable to your own words. I was telling the pastors we was coming in that my pastor wrote a book about communication, and he talked about the law of confession, Dr. Bill Winston, the law of confession. And we studied that book, and we went through that book, and to our amazement, because we understood those laws, we realized something had changed in our life because our language changed. And our attitude changed about what God was doing with us. So it's very important for us to understand on these connecting principles. Now, the three components of communication. Here's the three things that you need to know about communication. Thought, something we know. Your thought is very important. Emotion, something we feel. Emotion is something we're feeling. And three, actions, something we do. Those are three components of communication. It's your thoughts, it's your emotions, and it's your actions. Because if you're thinking right, chances are you're going to do the right thing. If you're thinking wrong, that's how people get in trouble. And they find themselves emotionally locked in on the wrong thing, and that creates a real problem because it brings about a bad action. So we need to be aware of that. We're talking about the percentage of what we believe, how we account for the things we say, and then the things that we account for, what others see about us is important. And then we go into the thought, the emotion, and the action, something we do. Now, going down, it says, I believe those three components are essential to connect as well. Fail to include any one of the three, and there will be a disconnect from people and a breakdown in communication. More specifically, here's how I think the breakdown would occur if I try to communicate. Sometime I know, but do not feel. Something I know, thank you. Something I know, but do not feel. My communication is dispassionate. My communication is dispassionate. It's something you know, but you don't feel it. I'm not with this. You ever heard people say, I'm not with this? So then they're dispassionate. I have no passion for it. That's why I always have shared with people, Pastor, when they come into church, I ask them, what do you like to do? Because sometimes we put people in places they don't want to be. And when they get in there, now they don't have any passion for it, and they dragging this thing all the way through the church every Sunday and every Bible study, and they're just dragging it. Why? Because we put them somewhere that we wanted to have a slot filled, but their passion was over in something else. And so if we find the right place to put them in terms of what they like to do, and we train them, hey, they'll run that thing like your engine run your car around town. Just get up and go with it, Now, something I know but do not do, then my communication is theoretical. It's just a theory in my own mind. Something I know but do not do, then my communication just be in theory. Something I feel but do not know, my communication is unfounded. Now, this is the thing they taught people that was going into reporting. I'm sure they still teach them that you're not to report something that you don't really know. And it should be the same for us in the church world. When people, will make statements, I remember I used to hear this all the time. I don't know if you ever heard this over in Kenya. But in the U.S., they had this saying when I was coming up, and I would hear a lot of the mothers say it. They said, wait till a man's heart is through his stomach. Have you ever heard that? Huh? Over here too? Oh, okay. You know what the Bible say about that? Do anybody know what the Bible say about feeding somebody? It says, with a piece of bread, a whorish woman would entice a man. I'm like, whoa. And mama now telling me to wait till a man's heart. So God is saying that a whorish person would do this. That's why we need to know the book. It's unfounded. So they was passing on something they really didn't know what they were saying. It sounded good, but it wasn't a true statement from the kingdom. The kingdom says it's the reverse. A whorish woman would use bread to entice a man. And that's not what we want to teach our young people, how to connect with somebody by trying to feed them with an underground motive. Allow them to be like what God called them to be, pure, chaste, and let God just do his thing with them, you know? So you don't want to, something I feel but do not know. That's unfounded. Something I feel but do not do, then my communication is hypocritical. Something I feel but do not do it, then I'm communicating to you hypocrisy. Something I do but do not know, so my communication is presumption. I'm just assuming. Now I'm taking a guesswork type job. Presumptuous. Something I do but do not feel, my communication is mechanical, going through the motions. Action. Something we do, connecting visually what people see. Something we do, connecting visually what people see. Henry Ward Beecher asserted, there are persons so radiant, so genuine, so kind, so pleasant bearing, that you instinctively feel good in their presence, that they do you good. Whom coming into a room is like bringing a lamp there. You ever seen someone like that? They just always got a nice smile. They always got nice words to say. Those people are valuable. When I was working in corporate America over in the U.S., we had the study we was doing about the people in the workplace. And there were certain people that, even though they was not the best workers, we considered them as valuable to our team because they were the ones that kept everybody uplifted and motivated. And so we said, we can't get rid of them because when they come in, it's like a party takes off. And they go around to different people, desks, and be talking to them. Now, you know they ain't working, but the thing is they keep everybody else working. They keep the place happy. And then when they say, hey, we want to throw a party for Miss Mary, everybody, hey, that person get it. Come on, we need to do this. Sign this a particular little note, and we're going to send this to them. We're going to do this for them. They were so valuable to us, and we started examining them inside of the workplace and said, yeah, we don't want to move them. Because if you take them out of the equation, you got a dried up office. Nobody in here is going to be happy. That person kept life inside of the place. They were genuine about it. They was excited. And that's what God basically is trying to share with us. There are some people, they're just like a light bulb. They're going to bring the light and darkness got to leave. And so you want to be sure that if you got those type of people, a pastor make sure some of the greeters at the back door, you know, and let them stay there when people are leaving. Hey, I'm happy to see you and sad to see you leave, but we'll meet up again come Bible study night. You need those type of people. You don't want somebody at the back door and like, hey, come on in. I'm like, what? So watch who's at that back door. Hallelujah. Now, to connect with people visually, one, expand your range of expression. You got to learn how to express yourself. Expand it. One of the things you can do, go online. I love this new passionate way of information floating around. I don't have to really need a book because now everybody's book is on the website. I just go in there and key their name in and start reading their book. And, you know, I learned some tools from these people. Expand your range of expression. Learn how to express yourself. Two, move with a sense of purpose. Move with a sense of purpose. If there's no purpose, you're going nowhere. God said that his people perish for a lack of knowledge. And then the one writer said, you know, write the vision, make it plain. All these things are purpose-driven operations. No, if there's no purpose behind what you're doing, why are you doing it? God had a purpose for sending Christ in here. He wants to redeem us. He just didn't say, hey, son, you ever thought about dying on the cross? Yeah, why don't you go down to earth? They'll kill you. No, that was not the reason. He had a purpose for it. He told him, son, the only way I can get those people out of the trap they're in, you're going to have to go in there and get them. That means you're going to have to die for them because Adam have already shedded some blood. Somebody got to pay that blood back. And it's got to come from the Godhead. So there's a purpose. Now, 3, maintain an open posture. You ever been around some people? When you walk up to them, you say, how you doing? And they fold their arms up and turn to you sideways. Worst thing to do. You're telling that person to get lost. Someone walk up to you, and they talking to you, stand up and talk to them. Open